Hello, everybody. It is 5:02, March 25, 2024. We're getting close to the end of March, on to April. April 1st, then April 8th, and it's going to be one hell of a year. It's going to actually, I'm sorry to say, get worse every day. How are you guys doing? Wow. Alicia, hello. Linty, hello. Andrew, hello. Rage Against the Machine, hello. And Crazy Pots, hey. Crazy Pots. Sherry Hughes, thank you very much. Phil, hello. Shauna, hello. OK2, hello. Deacon Blues. Jay Northrup. Christy Hazelwood. Hey, Barb in Ohio, hello. Did I say Sherry? Thank you. Thank you, thank you. As always, did I? I can't even remember. It was only seconds ago. Look at me. My fabulous brain. Who else is in the house? We've got Denise Martinez, hello. BMCC, hello. Karen Carpenter, Kenosis, Moss, hello. Patricia White, Something to Chew on. Chris Avila, hello. Donna Davidson, hi. Nice to see everybody. Ray Clay, Laura Larson, and Crazy Pots. God has the plan. Really? Did God let you know that? Okay. Crazy Pots. Now that's one name that is very interesting. Cecilia Amorati. Not one person that you have contact with has felt well in months. I don't know anyone who's well. Isn't that great? And Joe Nugent, hello. Mike Luft, hello. Let's take a look at radar, shall we? Oh, wow. Growing weather fronts. Growing supercell weather fronts. And look at this little ditty here in Oklahoma. Wow, now that's interesting. Spinning around. Okay. Very elongated, don't you think? Nice straight line, and then it spins around and boom, there you go. Well, the supercell action I get very worried about for everyone. Supercell here in Arkansas, right on into Missouri. Supercells here in Louisiana into Mississippi. So be very careful. You seem to have a weather attack in Louisiana. Look at all of these very strange lines, nicely defined, and they just move on in to the supercell line. Look at that. And look at this creation up here. From Iowa all the way down on the border of Kansas and Missouri. Yeah, I guess this line spinning up here in Oklahoma is spitting off nanobots to activate along the border right here. Well, the days of natural are gone. They're gone. So, dizziness, nausea, vertigo. Going to PT. What's PT? Snow is almost here in Kansas. It's only 32 degrees in Kansas? Wow. Well, let me show you what, yes, weather warfare is quite real. Death to the New World Order. Timothy Graff. Hi. This came about this morning at, what was the time? Oh, I don't have the... It was, I don't know, 5:30 this morning. Might have been a little later. I walk out and I see this and, okay, that's the moon? That's supposed to be the moon. But all of this cloud was behind this moon, which I thought rather strange. Now, there was a full moon at 3 a.m. today, but do you see how it is illuminated at the bottom? Bingo, wow. All right. The zooming features on my camera have become very, very good, huh? But you see how it is illuminated? That is not real. So there's a lot of people who believe that we are living in a simulation. I believe they are creating a simulation and literally just putting to death our natural world. But no. I also came out like a few minutes later without my camera, and I noticed that this moon had traveled very quickly. Which direction is that? I don't know. I've been turned around a lot, but it was, when I came back out, it was like over here, and then I went to get my camera and I couldn't go out because there was a cat on the porch eating. It's a stray cat, and I knew that if I went out, it would not be able to eat and run away. So you're just going to have to take my word for it that I swear, like within maybe 7 minutes, this thing was gone. Wow. But the moon should not be there. Not at like 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. It should not be there. So what is going on? And then, not too long afterwards, this was the sky.
Nothing's in the
Pretty,
ocean,
isn't it?
nothing's in the desert.
This might have been like 7 o'clock in the morning. Really?
Oh, I don't know what horror they're planning.
The pulsating frequencies, when the camera goes out of focus and snaps back in, that is caused by frequencies, electromagnetic frequencies. A pulse. Look at this. Wow. Now that's black. You got the pulsating frequencies, and you've got weird clouds in the sky, all manufactured. The microwaves. You got it all. It's so darn pretty. Not at all. And look at this. Look at this. It's... No, I'm sorry. This is not what the sky used to look like. We all know that, right? Yeah. It's ugly. And then this was this morning. I mean, sorry, this afternoon. And I went out because, well, I don't know what it was. It's kind of weird in the Tucson area. We got military jets flying over you multiple times a day. And this wind that whips up The reason why I went out was because it was the weirdest sound and sensation, and it sounded like, is this buffering already? No, okay. It really was very strange, but it sounded like boop, 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 coming from where? It happened twice, and I was, well, that's not thunder, for sure. Things are very strange. It ain't like it used to be. It's just another friggin' day in our new world. But yeah, these were the clouds. Any of you get the sense that really nothing is real anymore? Not even people? Weather. Minnesota. Got a whole lot of snow. Very dense, heavy snow.
At my bookstore. This morning, the heaviest I've ever lifted in my entire life. I'm way too old for this.
My birthday's at the end of April, and every year I get excited. Well, a lot of people get excited because they think the spring is coming in and the winter's over. But since I've been little, every time there's that one last snowstorm that we always get, and here it is.
Obviously, we need the moisture, blah, blah, blah. I get it. I just wish it had been a little bit more spread out throughout the season.
Have you shoveled snow this heavy? I have. It's not fun. But unfortunately, sir, I have to tell you, they're saying another one may be coming to your area. Another one. Sorry. Hundreds of homes destroyed in Brazil.
N-I-C-E-R-I, ó. Gonçalves Ramos.
Exato no campo. Como que pode, né? A gente não coisar isso aqui, ele vai.
And 25 dead.
Como que desce?
Só não bate no portão, por favor. Olha esse bolo. Sabe o que é esse bolo? Daquele porão. Já tem seguro.
Ó o portão, que doideira. Mano, a água tá muito forte, viado.
destructive power of using weather as weapons. Asia, Java, Indonesia.
Kabeh lu ngene iki lho bansos iku ora ono metu. Zaman calonan anak presiden niku ndek wingi ora ono apa-apa bantuan.
30 houses were severely affected, buried under heaps of soil due to the landslides.
Pukul 8.00 untuk situasi tanggul yang jebol sudah.
According to BPBD data, 350 people have been relocated from 2 villages for safety reasons. Rescue operations are underway as authorities strive to assess the full extent of the damage and provide aid.
Melaporkan bahwa
every day, weather destruction is taking place in not just one, I would say several parts of the world. Devastating. I don't know when this was. 1 day ago, Turkey.
The information in the video shows an incident in Cizre, Turkey. Heavy rain in the area of Cizre caused flooding, leaving streets inundated and residents stranded. Unprepared for the downpour, citizens sought refuge under bus shelters and at workplaces, waiting for the rain to subside. Police crews implemented precautionary measures in high traffic areas and cautioned drivers to exercise caution on the slippery roads. Basements of several buildings and workplaces suffered damage from the flooding, highlighting the need for better infrastructure resilience. Emergency services are actively responding to calls for assistance in the affected areas.
Yeah, I think you're right, Phil. Humanity was a big mistake. I think God knows it, and he's going to write another Bible, and he's going to just forget about that Genesis, the Adam and Eve. Nope, no more. Just four-leggeds inhabit the planet. Furious farmers shut down London with angry tractor protests.
Farmers have arrived in Westminster to protest against what they say is a lack of support for British food production. An estimated 100 tractors have been meeting in New Covent Garden, heading on to Vauxhall, Millbank, Parliament Square, and also going up and down Whitehall in a slow convoy, as you can see. Organisers Save British Farming, as well as Fairness for Farmers of Kent, are saying that cheap food imports and unsupportive policies are putting UK food security at risk.
So yes, protesters are raising concerns
to broadcast the show
over
today,
challenges faced by the British farming industry, which they say are leaving the nation's food security at risk. They are calling for an end to trade deals, which they claim are allowing imports of food produced to standards that would be illegal in the UK. undercutting British farmers. Organizers also criticize labeling that allows products to bear a Union flag when they have not been grown or reared in the country. Yes. This globalist idea, imports, was not good. Every country should have been able to sustain their own self. Right? Right. Yeah. Well, so I'm going to post a link to this. This was posted on Dutch Sense's channel today. And it is Tom Bearden, who's talking about the Soviet weather engineering over North America. Do you think the United States didn't have that technology as well? Okay. You can listen. It's 1 hour. He's talking about the scalar technology that is in use still today. All right. So I got this from a subscriber.
Subject for this evening is Soviet weather.
Okay. I got this from a subscriber. This squatting deal. He will squat with your squatters until they leave. All right. This is that squatter hunter.
I never thought that these words would leave my mouth, but squatters are kind of trending right now, I guess. I mean, it seems like everywhere I look, I find another story about some group of people who have illegally moved into a vacant house, usually in California. Just saying. Usually in California. But today's story is the most ultimate twist to this whole squatter situation. There's a handyman out there named Flash Shelton who has found a loophole in the law where if he becomes a squatter by moving in with squatters, then he can actually get them out of the houses where they're squatting.
1,200 homes have been squatted in the city.
Unfortunately, some of these squatters have gotten pretty sophisticated.
It's just an incredibly confusing thing to think. You go on vacation, somebody trespasses and enters your home, starts living in it, and then you legally can't do anything about it, like call the cops and say somebody's in my house?
Hi, my name is Flash Shelton. I'm the founder of the United Handyman Association, and I also opened up squatterhunters.com, where we help people that need to get their squatters out.
This is a lot to process. There's a lot going on here. Let's get...
All right, I will post the link to this video. You can watch it. Yeah, you got to be careful now if you have any property that is either vacant or a second home that you're just not in right now. It seems that squatters are taking over. But I'd like to understand this. A petition. Can you chip in $8 to get this petition on the agenda? Since when do you need... This is a change.org. Since when do you need money for a petition? Is this something new that I haven't heard of? Because it does seem a little odd. Whoever put up this petition, chipping in allows us to promote the petition on change.org and through email. All right. I don't get it. Change.org. I'm confused. But boy, you know, when you check out how much money whoever posted this petition, it is for getting rid of squatters. Change squatter laws. Help make squatting in residential maintained homes criminal. Well, it should be criminal. I just don't understand why money is needed for a petition. Help me out. So much I don't understand. Florida lawmakers passed bill to revoke squatters' rights, protect property owners. That squatters actually have rights. means something's very wrong, and apparently every state has offered squatters rights. They're considered tenants, but they're not tenants. So, what's happening here? They're not tenants. They're people who broke into a home and decided to steal it. And then they have law that actually protects them. Do you see how insane our country is? All right. So here's Florida.
Thank you for joining us. All 50 states have what are called squatters' rights. That can make it very difficult to have someone removed from your own property. But how and when these laws are enforced varies by state. Now, Florida lawmakers have now passed a bill to make it easier to get rid of squatters. It's House Bill 621. It authorizes property owners to request action by the sheriff's office to immediately remove them from your home. The bill passed the Florida Senate last week.
Tanner Stewart is in the studio to break down this new piece of legislation and how it impacts here locally.
So, Bob, before the bill was signed into law, squatters are considered tenants in the eyes of the law. Now squatters will soon face criminal charges for violating what was once within their rights.
39 yeas, 0 nays, Madam President.
In a unanimous decision, the Florida Senate is making it easier for property owners to rid their areas of squatters. Senator Keith Perry led the charge on House Bill 621 that allows property owners to file an affidavit showing the property doesn't belong to those who are occupying it. The bill creates stiff penalties for violators, like a second-degree felony for damage to a home and first-degree felony for fraudulently selling or leasing the property. The sheriff's required to serve the notice and remove unwanted occupants without delay.
This is an important bill. If you see the stories of what happens, it is egregious what these people are getting away with through the current legislation.
WEAR has covered several squatter-ridden properties over the years, including this home on Lejeune Drive. It's since been cleaned up, but not before a months-long battle in the courts. Pensacola City Councilwoman Jennifer Breyer helped find a solution here, but says the time it took was overwhelming.
We still had to give them notice that they were being evicted. They had to be given time, and that I think is shocking to the owners, that someone is illegally within their home and yet they have to still go through.
Of course it's shocking. Oh, God. Of course it's shocking. It is shocking. I mean, what the hell are we doing here? And why do you have to now? People are calling it loopholes. You know, that they're trying to change the legislation in some states on this, the squatter. It's breaking in entry. It is breaking in entry. And whoever owns the property should be, it should be very easy for them to provide the evidence that they own the property, and the police should then yank them out and throw them in jail. Arrest them. Why do we have life like this? Florida, DeSantis signs one of the country's most restrictive social media bans for minors. And I'm not sure what my position is on this. The bill will ban social media accounts for children under 14 and require parental permission for 14 and 15-year-olds. And DeSantis said this: a child in their brain development doesn't have the ability to know that they're being sucked into these addictive technologies and to see the harm and step away from it. And because of that, we have to step in for them. Well, children can't smoke, teenagers can't smoke, they can't drink. There's an awful lot that they can't do, right? And if parents don't have the good sense to get these kids off this technology, if they don't have the good sense to, like, not give them cell phones that ruin their brain, and a whole lot. You see these babies that are staring at screens. You know, if parents can't protect their own children, oh boy, that's when government steps in. I don't like it, but I also don't like these kids getting so destroyed by this technology. But they can still have the technology. They just can't get social media accounts. So they can't post themselves. All right. Several states have considered similar legislation. In Arkansas, a federal judge in August blocked enforcement of law that required parental consent for minors to create new social media accounts. This law could create substantial obstacles for young people seeking access to online information, a right afforded to all Americans regardless of age. Again, I'll say that we do have dangerous products that, you know, kids can't get, parental consent or not. Why can't they? This bill is simply here. The bill overwhelmingly passed both chambers, with some Democrats joining a majority of Republicans who supported the measure. Opponents argued it's unconstitutional and government shouldn't interfere with decisions parents make with their children. But, you know, shit, man, parenting sucks, okay? That's when you have government come, it's so easily they can come in and protect the children, right? The number one job, the most important job is parenting. Parenting. You raise your children to be good souls in the world, and then you get an awful lot of those good souls, set them on the trajectory to not be fucked up, but to be overall healthy, spiritually and mentally and physically, but all of that is gone now. It's gone. You can't have these kids physically healthy. You just can't. The food is gone. The healthy foods are gone. So the water is poisoned, and the air is poisoned, and the food is poisoned. And they stare at screens, getting pulsed with dangerous frequencies, ruining their brains. You know, so I don't, you know, sometimes I hear myself making my arguments, and I think to myself, these arguments are for a time past. They're for a time past, not for this time. Because this time, we're heading in one direction, and we're all being swallowed up into hell. So, but this bill goes too far in taking away parents' rights. Instead of banning social media access, but it doesn't sound like social media access, because you can still get on Twitter, you can still get on TikTok, you can, and you don't have an account. You just can't leave comments and you can't post anything. But you can still have access. So that's where I'm a little bit confused, because they're talking about access versus, you know, making an account. But here, funny, instead of banning social media access, It would be better to ensure improved parental oversight tools, improved access to data to stop bad actors, alongside major investments in Florida's mental health systems and programs. Well, that woman who said that, she just proved DeSantis' point. They shouldn't be on this technology. It's warping their brains. And she's saying, just make a major investment in mental health, because we know how sick these children are from this technology. Michigan offering citizens $500 per month to house illegal immigrants. I don't care how hard up I would be, I would not take migrants into my home. To newcomers. That's what they're called now. Newcomers. God. It's being funded to the tune of $4 million from the Michigan Housing and Community Development Fund. No, it's from Michigan taxpayers. Oh, in other words, paid for by taxpayers. Right. Oh, wow. Well, good luck. Good luck. Another caravan. Oscar Blue Ramirez. I will put the link in. You can watch the full video. I'll just play a few minutes. More and more and more are coming.
Good evening to all. How's everybody doing? I'm Oscar Blue for Real America's Voice News. It is 12:14 in the evening. Today, it is the day of 25th of March. Another caravan has left the south border of Tapachula. We have walked more than 11 caravans ourselves, broadcasting for the American public and for the world. This was today, early in the morning, as close to 3,000 migrants, they left the south border of the country of Mexico, and their intention to arrive and to go to the south borders of the United States of America, to enter the United States of America. Many comments, many anger comments from U.S. citizens that they are fed up with the situation, as the immigration situation has been fueling the borders and also fueling in Central and South America. Many Americans have, as I posted at Twitter, have been commentating angrily and have been commentating, extremely upset about this current situation of caravans conforming and forming themselves continuously in the south border of Mexico and making it all the way to the northern borders, all the way to the south borders, to the north of the country of Mexico and to the south of the country of the United States of America. Many of the comments, and just to get statistically and geographically on what is the caravan itself right now, more than 3,000. They say close to 3,000. Others say more than 3,000.
Oh boy, it's just never ever ending, right? Okay, the problem with phones, there isn't pay phones. If your kid doesn't have a cell phone, how to keep in contact? Get him a flip top. There are phones where they can only access numbers for an emergency. They don't need the cell phones where they're constantly looking at social media, the internet, all of this stuff, especially when they're at school. Yeah. There was a time when kids didn't have phones. Yeah, there were payphones, but the payphones weren't, and you didn't have immediate access to a payphone. There's many things that people could do. They don't need to walk around with a cell phone that has a whole lot of information that they don't need to be seeing. Children. Mayor Eric Adams canceled southern border trips, citing safety concerns. He's scared to go down to the southern border. Just Mayor Adams? New York. mayor. He scrapped plans to join immigration leaders for a tour of the southern border on Sunday. He was set to leave Saturday night to tour Brownsville and McAllen, Texas, with national immigration leaders in an effort to get a handle on the asylum seekers crisis. You have to go to the border to get a handle on it, Adams? Because a whole lot of us have a handle on it, and we haven't gone down to the border, Brownsville, McAllen. But what is... You were only threatened? He was only threatened? Due to safety concerns at one of the cities we are going to visit in Mexico? In Mexico? Wait. He was supposed to go to Brownsville and McAllen, Texas. And this is what the State Department issued. Due to safety concerns at one of the cities we were going to visit in New Mexico, flagged by the U.S. Department of... Well, no. Sorry, this was not the department. This was Adams' office. So this is a little confusing. I read news articles, and very often now, I'm rather confused. All right. So in Mexico, flagged by the U.S. Department of State, we have decided to pause this visit at this time. We hope to continue our partnership with these nationally recognized Latino leaders and organizations as we look for concrete solutions to resolve the crisis at the border. Well, guess what, Mayor? You resolving the crisis at the border, that is not your duty. That's not in the list of duties for the mayor of New York. You have to stop all of these migrants coming into New York. And you've got to scream your head out, your head off at the Democrat Party, because they're kind of in charge now with all of these migrants coming across the border. And here, this is Scott Lebedo. He's not... Look, that Mayor Adams is actually staying in New York City. I would think New York City is more threatening for Adams right now than Brownsville and McAllen.
They have to do their job because of this piece of shit that makes them do this bullshit here, okay? I'm throwing pizza because these pigeons are hungry and I'm here to feed the fucking pigeons, okay? We understand what's happening here, people. This city, this mayor, the governor, the city council, the DAs are wrecking this fucking city, destroying the small mom and pop businesses. And this is another example. Pizza. They're gonna regulations for brick oven pizza. Brick oven pizza is killing the baby seals now.
Oh my God!
Ah, you believe that shit?
Unbelievable.
We have crime running rampant through this city. If this mayor was the man and New Yorker he said he was, he would be going up against D.A. Bragg and taking these criminals off the fucking streets. He'd be going up against Hochul to stop this invasion of illegal aliens that are beating our cops up, raping, killing, and slaughtering. If he was a man. But he's worried about pizza because he hates the small business owner. He hates you New Yorkers. So, I'm going to start feeding the pigeons. Now, anybody else who wants to feed the pigeons with me and throw some pizza over here, you're going to get collared. If you're willing, because of this asshole is telling them to arrest us for littering, for feeding the pigeons. Think about it. He wants to be an environmentalist and loves nature. That's why he's doing this pizza bullshit. Well, I'm an environmentalist. I love nature. I want to feed these hungry pigeons. And that's what...
So he's going to feed them with the brick oven pizza. Oh my God. Okay. Oakland woman working at laundromat attacked.
Laundromat worker in Oakland who's attacked by two customers was all captured on surveillance cameras. Making matters worse, she says neither of her alleged attackers were taken to jail. Dalin has more.
Surveillance footage shows two women harassing, threatening, and attacking a longtime laundromat worker for 8 minutes. Ruth Wild, better known as Ruthie, says it was the longest 8 minutes of her life.
I was very afraid, and I'm still afraid.
It happened last Saturday, just after 7 p.m. at Woody's Laundromat near Lake Merritt. Ruthie told the two women they close at 8 p.m. and last wash is at 6:30. She pointed to the sign on the wall. Surveillance footage shows they left with the clothes. They returned about 40 minutes later. Ruthie says they started harassing her, saying their clothes were missing. Ruthie says she kept telling them she doesn't have to close. Again, here's video of the women earlier taking their clothes and leaving the laundromat. Surveillance footage shows the woman in the black hat grabbing Ruthie by her neck area, dragging her around, shoving her to the ground multiple times, and punching her 3 to 4 times.
They punched me again, and hard enough that my nose was bleeding. I saw stars and light because they hit me so hard.
Here's another punch landed right on her face. Ruthie says her...
Oh, God, man. All right. Did you hear? The police didn't arrest them? The police didn't arrest them. Do you see how wrong that is? They are literally increasing crimes, allowing people to just walk free. They commit crime, go home, go home. And people can't see that this is purposeful to bring down this country? I guess not. An uptown pastor sends eviction notice to elderly tenant after she complains about living conditions. A pastor? A Christian pastor? Could do this?
The pastor of an uptown church sent an eviction notice today to his elderly tenant saying he needs to make repairs to the property days after she reached out to Fox 8 begging for help about her living conditions.
It also comes a day after code enforcement showed up to the building, which is owned by the church, and found 25 violations. Here's our latest Fox 8 Defenders report.
You're trying to evict me because I called y'all out, Channel 8 News and code enforcement now.
Lorraine Moffitt has 10 days to get out of her Austerlitz Street home, according to this eviction notice handed to her by a deputy constable Wednesday morning.
She said, well, you got eviction notice. I said, mister, I ain't paid my rent. She said, I don't care. He wants you out in 10 days.
The eviction notice, saying the landlord needs the property for repairs, comes just days after we interviewed Moffitt about the living conditions inside her home.
This is what I do. Walk the floor with this. He used a cell phone.
Moffitt says she can't see at night.
The light don't work. It don't work. None of them don't work.
In her bedroom,
all that's mildew.
So the orange here on the wall, that's where the water was coming down?
Yeah, all that.
She says a plumbing issue upstairs in the fourplex compounded the problem. And when a plumber arrived in early February,
and the pipe was broke off right here.
She tells us he made this mess, but never came back to fix it.
So you've got an exposed hole in your bathroom. I can see
the ground.
There's the ground down there.
Right. This scares me. Last night I'm coming through the house with the flashlight. Something was crawling on the floor. I said, Jesus, somebody got to come out here. Somebody got to come out here.
Austerlitz Street Baptist Church next door owns the building. It doesn't have to pay a dime in taxes because of its nonprofit tax-exempt status. Despite her close proximity to her former place of worship, Moffitt now says she feels she needs divine intervention to help her out of this situation.
And it's wrong. It's just wrong for him to do this.
She's talking about Pastor Sherman Washington.
Called Pastor Washington on 19th of January.
Who she says she has to call whenever there's a problem with her apartment.
You're a pastor.
Yes,
You're a man of God.
Yes, I am.
Should anyone be living like that?
No, and we've told them they can go.
Right, just like my wife said, we told them they chose to stay there, I guess, because of the rent, because of the cheap rent.
Should anybody be living like that? No, but we told her she could leave. Wow. I can feel the love. I can sense Jesus in these people.
As for why one of his tenants has been without lights for nearly 2 months,
They had to turn the lights off because they were saying how the water was coming down. But I gave Miss Lorraine the opportunity, if she wanted to move, that she could move.
Moffitt says she pays $650 a month in rent, but the pastor admits he needs more and asked her last week to pay $850 a month, like his other tenants, to help cover repair costs.
I can't afford for her to only pay $650, everybody else pay, because it's costing the church and burdening down the church. Now, I don't want it to be a burden to the church, and she's no longer my member.
Do you think she should be?
How about getting your congregation to chip in to make sure that that elderly woman does not get put out on the street? Helping people. Yeah.
Paying $850 a month in rent when she's got a hole in her bathroom where you can see the floor,
no,
the
ma'am.
ground?
We had to do that for the plumbing. We just
But why
got the
hasn't it
plumbing
been
fixed.
fixed?
And that's we're in the process of getting that fixed. They fixed the plumbing last week.
So for 1 week, she's been living with a hole that you could see down to the ground. You can see the dirt.
Okay,
So she's been living like that for a week?
Yes, she had been.
Shouldn't that have been fixed in a day?
But maybe it should have been fixed in a day. We didn't fix it in a day.
Why not?
I haven't got the contractor over there yet.
Would you be okay living in a house that had a hole where you could see straight down to the ground?
No, I would not.
So you would agree that's something that should be fixed ASAP?
Yeah, and it will be. Yes, it will be.
Washington admits there are
We also reached out to the state tax commission as
Oh, I had my mic off. Let me just say it one more time. It does not matter what you say you are, whether you put a label on your forehead, on your chest, doesn't matter. What matters is how you live, how you operate in the world, and what you do. That's it. Take the labels off. Matters nothing.
as well, a spokesperson telling us Brant Law was not collecting on the commission's behalf, but on behalf of Rose State, who we also reached out to but haven't heard back from just yet. Pennington says she's filed a consumer complaint with the AG's office.
Thank you.
Concern for
Sorry about that, but this is about a Norman, Oklahoma woman getting someone else's tax debt letter, which is really weird. But there are good Christians and murderous Jews. There are murderous Christians and good Jews.
from a Norman woman. She says a tax warrant company sent her a letter not only containing her personal information, but someone else's too.
News 4's John Hayes joins us now in studio. And John, you sat down with her today. She's obviously very upset.
She is Jolene. She says the company has admitted to her in an email this was a printing error. But she feels like they haven't done enough outside of that to reassure her that her own personal information isn't sitting inside of someone else's house.
That is the most unprofessional thing I've ever seen in my entire life. A letter from Brandt and Associates in Tulsa at the center of Ashley Pennington's frustrations. One side of the document letting the Norman resident know the tax commission would be using part of her refund to go towards paying off a debt to Rose State. The other side.
When I turned it on the back and saw somebody else's name and information, I immediately knew something was wrong.
In addition to another person's name and address, reference number, how much they also owed to Rose State, and how much of their refund was being taken out.
Who did you call immediately? What stood out the most to you?
The very first thing I did was look up Brandt and Associates, and there was an email contact on their website. So I contacted them via email.
Brandt & Associates website says it offers tax warrant intercept services in Oklahoma. The group also promises to keep data confidential.
They answered actually pretty quickly, but they just said, "Oh, we're sorry about the printing error. We're sending out new letters."
News 4 reached out to Brandt & Associates multiple times Thursday.
Please leave your name and phone number, and we will return your call right away.
The owner of the company did reach back out after our second attempt, but refused an interview.
It's absolutely insane to me that an error like this can put so many people at risk, but also that somebody misses an error like this.
How does that happen? On the back of her letter, there was the printing of somebody else's tax information. Unprofessional? Yeah. Incompetence? Yeah. But we have to start wondering if all of this taking place, have people lost their minds? Well, I think we could say yes. But I have to wonder if a lot of this is just deliberate. I don't know. But something's very wrong with our country. Something stinks to high hell. The brother of the airport director in Arkansas, who was shot to death by ATF, speaks out.
It just doesn't make any sense the way they did it.
One day after this quiet neighborhood in West Little Rock woke to the sound of gunshots, Brian Malinowski's brother, Matthew, is sitting at an attorney's office, thinking of what to do next.
I think the next thing is go to the house and take as many pictures as possible of all the damage.
Malinowski was the subject of an ATF search warrant early Tuesday morning. The executive director of Clinton National Airport caught in a shootout that left one agent hospitalized and Brian on life support.
He's mortally wounded. He was shot in the head with a high-caliber weapon.
As evidence is collected and neighbors adjust to the shock, Matthew is holding his own investigation.
Right now, we're trying to gain truth and facts.
Trying to figure out why his brother was targeted.
Brian has no incentive to do anything illegal.
And what led agents to break in the way they did.
The ATF should have never raided him like they did. They could have thrown tear gas in there. They could have thrown a shot grenade in there. They could have just said with air horns, "Hey, get your tail out here. We're the ATF."
While Matthew says Brian collected weapons, guns, and coins at his home on Durance Court. He says he's never been in trouble with the law before. And with no word from law enforcement on what exactly was in that search warrant, Matthew is left planning for an uncertain future, with more questions than answers.
I'm confused. I'm tired. I'm living on adrenaline at the moment.
Katrin Asaf reporting. Matthew also telling Fox 16 they will pursue litigation as much as they can. In fact,
there's so much that goes on with our government killing people and we don't get to know why. We don't get to know why. That's too bad. Massive floating hospital arrives at Portland's Vigor Industrial for the 7th time since 2012. 4 football fields for maintenance on Swan Island. 138 million pounds, nearly 900 feet long, floating hospital arrived at Swan Island, Black Swan Island, Portland. to undergo regular maintenance and upkeep that takes place about every 15 months. The Navy hospital ship used in humanitarian efforts and disaster relief around the world has 1,000 beds, 12 operating rooms, can treat up to 300 surgical patients a day. It offers radiological services. It has got a pharmacy, an optometry lab. But with everything that is taking place, you do have to wonder the timing. All right, it's parked there for maintenance. All right, that's what they have to do, I guess. But April 8th, I posted a video on my Never Lose Truth channel reading Michael Schneider's article. And boy, this eclipse on April 8th, it sounds more like an EMP attack. So, if you haven't seen the video, I'll bring it up now. I'm not going to read the article because I've done it already. Posting it on Never Lose Truth. All right. So the National... Hi, everybody. I thought the National Guard is deployed. The link is in the chat. States are putting out warnings. Make sure that you prep before April 8th. Make sure you prep before... Make sure you have food. Make sure you have gas. Make sure you have cash because credit card machines may go down. What else? Hazmat is also involved with the National Guard and hazmat, and wow, that sounds like a biological threat. These states, Time or Newsweek put up a map. In these states are issuing warnings. So let me just read some of the warnings because this does not sound like an eclipse. Not any eclipse that I have lived through in my lifetime. Here. So, Oklahoma's National Guard is set to be deployed for the upcoming total solar eclipse, when as many as 100,000 people are expected to visit one county. How do they know that, first of all? How do they know 100,000 people are expected to visit McCurtain County, southeast of the state? How do they know? Do they just come up with these numbers and just say things? I think so. I think so. The Guard will provide first responders as well as units with hazmat response capabilities in case of an incident like an industrial fire. Wow. Okay. Residents of Oklahoma are being urged to stock up on gas and groceries prior to the eclipse. Also instructed to have multiple forms of communication besides cellular, and to schedule your errands and appointments a few days in advance before the eclipse. The state, be careful on the road and stay updated on weather conditions. So this eclipse, wow, kind of sounds manufactured. Kind of sounds like they're testing out a simulation to bring about darkness. Stretch of, states. Hazmat, National Guard. Make sure you have alternate communication devices, like a can with string into your neighbor's home. And keep updated on weather. On weather? electromagnetic frequencies used in this atmosphere could bring about disaster, weather disaster. So it doesn't sound like a natural eclipse. So it's not only Oklahoma, Newsweek, they have their map, and the warnings are Texas, Oklahoma, Indiana, and Ohio. Be very careful, guys. Make sure your cars are filled with gas, and you have food. You have, I don't know, outside of the cell phone, maybe you have a landline. I don't know. Some schools have decided to close, citing student safety. Texas officials have issued a slew of warnings, including that people living within the path of totality should stock up on groceries and gas and run any errands, filling prescriptions days before the eclipse. One official also urged pet owners to stock up on supplies for their animals. Wow, doesn't this sound like power is going to be going down for a while? Doesn't it? Doesn't sound like an eclipse. Hays County, Texas. All right, you got to prepare for parking issues, lack of parking, fees for parking, okay, traffic delays and road closures, longer wait times for restaurants, more congestion, delayed emergency 911 responses, cell service interruptions, lack of service, higher than normal stress levels, and or heated tempers. Wow. That sure does sound like they're going to be using a lot of powerful electromagnetic frequencies. Credit card machines not working. I don't understand, says Michael. Yeah, Arkansas had their live training exercise. With less than a month remaining before the Great American Solar Eclipse, the Arkansas Division of Emergency Management, ADEM, took a significant step by conducting a live training exercise. This exercise was designed to test ADEM's response to issues that may arise as visitors flock to Arkansas to witness the event. ADEM responders and other state agencies looked at possible scenarios such as severe weather, traffic, medical emergencies, and communication challenges. Taking part in the exercise, National Weather Service, Arkansas National Guard, Corps of Engineers, Arkansas Hospital Association, Arkansas Wireless Information Network, Arkansas Departments of Health, Transportation, Energy, and Environment and Human Services. Oh boy. So, what is going on here? Because 2017, the eclipse apparently, well, it crossed. Oh, I don't have that. I don't have that up. Let me see if I can get it quickly. Ha ha ha. The giant X. Great American X. X marks the spot. 7 years ago, we had another, 2017, had another eclipse. Yeah. And this one, yeah, 2024. It's been said that on average, a total solar eclipse can be seen from the same place only once every 375 years. The methodology used by whoever calculated this number is unknown, and it's debatable whether there can even be a definitive methodology for such a calculation. Thank you. Thank you, National Eclipse blog. Yeah, okay. But X marks the spot right over the New Madrid fault line. So, 2017, there wasn't this hoopla. Why now? What's going on? And frankly, I remember being in South Carolina during this eclipse. Not much happened. Not much happened. So, all of the prep for this, all of the warnings, leads me to believe that this is not natural and they're going to be simulating a eclipse. But the simulation, in order to get there, they're going to have to use pretty powerful electromagnetic frequencies. And that's why they're, warning about, well, get ready for the grid going down. Hackers attack water systems in several U.S. states. What to know?
Governors across the country to beef up their cybersecurity after hackers recently attacked several cities' water systems. Joining me tonight is Roger Kohler, Chief Information Security Officer at Huntress. Roger, thanks for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So, hacking incidents at water facilities, how vulnerable are they, and what is the concern here? Is it about the drinking water itself?
Yeah, absolutely. There's Department of Homeland Security actually stood up a agency, Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, many years ago to kind of go after some of these things with the critical infrastructure. And water is one of those things that they've really kind of looked at. And as you know, in Detroit, there's a lot of issues in 2014 with billing and all sorts of issues. And so this is really where a lot of these systems have bridged their information technology networks with their operational technology. Think like billing with how you control it, so you can measure and bill those things. And that's really opened up a lot of vulnerabilities where they're really concerned about right now.
In some of those recent hacking incidents, what happened there? Was the water contaminated, or what kinds of attacks exactly were they?
Yeah, at this point, there's been no damage, anything that's been really critical, but these are very simple attacks that have occurred. Like if you go look at the announcement that DHS CISA did put out, some of these things just within the last couple of years have been about advanced Chinese-backed hackers, as well as Iranian hackers that have done things as simple as...
It's Iran, it's China, but we have so many military-aged Chinese nationals coming across the border. In fact, they've put the number up to something like 30,000 just this year. That's a lot. Okay, so Donald Trump compared himself to Christ in bizarre posts from inside Hush Money Court. Oh boy. Yeah. He's comparing himself to Jesus Christ in one of his most bizarre social media posts yet. Well, I don't know if he's actually comparing himself to Christ, but on Truth Social, Trump wrote, "Received this morning. Beautiful, thank you." And then a message supposedly sent by one of his supporters, which reads, "It's ironic that Christ walked through his greatest persecution the very week they are trying to steal your property from you." Oh, Easter. Oh. That person thanked Trump for taking the arrows meant for us. Not me, but Trump supporters. Really? Really? As far as I'm concerned, Trump is playing his part in this. The Great American Experiment failed show. But here, from riot to insurrection to terrorism, January 6th continues to be a tragedy in the eye of the beholder. Jonathan Turley, constitutional law professor. I have maintained that January 6th was a disgraceful riot, but not an insurrection. I don't even consider it a disgraceful riot. I consider it a whole lot of instigators causing an awful lot of problems so that people like AOC can scream, insurrection! Sunday, they're still doing it. Sunday, AOC declared on CNN, we're talking about an individual who ordered essentially a terrorist attack on the capital of the United States in order to retain power. This sounds like an anxiety-ridden drama queen. Trump never ordered any terrorist attack. Now, I have to preface this. Never liked Trump. Didn't even like him before he announced he was going to run for president. Never liked him. Okay. Not in the Matrix. Not in the political matrix. Outside of it, no longer vote. Obama did me in. I knew right away. Yeah, something's wrong. You're lying just like everyone else. Okay. But he did no such thing. So regardless of where you stand and who you love and what team you're on, you should be very upset with people lying. Just because you're on the same team as AOC and you hate Trump, you can't accept these lies. We gotta clean up. Forget it. It's just not gonna happen. Accepting lies and lying is what we do as Americans. Sean Diddy Combs. 3 homes. Florida, LA, New York. All got raided. Sean Diddy Combs, isn't he a Trump supporter? I might be wrong on that.
We are following some breaking news in Los Angeles. Now, in the last hour, we have learned Homeland Security agents raided rap mogul Sean Diddy Combs' home. You are looking at some aerial video showing agents outside Combs' home. The exact reason for the raid is unclear, but Combs has been dealing with some legal troubles, including lawsuits over alleged sexual assaults and sex trafficking. Federal agents were also spotted at Combs' home in Miami. We'll be following this story.
All right.
Sex trafficking? Sean Diddy Combs. Did he flee? Did he flee? Yes, he fled. Sean Combs, private jet tracked to Caribbean island after raids. He got away. He fled. He fled. Do 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 do. Caribbean island. Huh. That doesn't look good, Sean. Kind of makes you look a little guilty. They raided his home. Sex trafficking, narcotics, firearms. He fled the country in his $60 million Gulfstream V jet purchased in 2021. You couldn't have purchased a jet for $40 million and then taken that $20 million that you would have spent for that jet and maybe helped people? The homeless, maybe? No. So I don't know. Is he into sex trafficking, narcotics? And, well, firearms is... Don't we have a Second Amendment? Yeah. Okay, Kamala Harris gets humiliated in Puerto Rico, my heart's desire. So apparently, she goes to Puerto Rico, and she was trolled by protesters singing protest songs against her, but she didn't understand what they were singing. Awkward moment. What? Let's just watch it here.
Queremos saber, queremos saber, queremos saber, Kamala, qué es lo que viniste a hacer.
What were they singing? That whomever was standing next to her finally said, I think you need to stop clapping. I don't think that this is good. After clapping along and smiling inanely, Harris was informed by her aide that the musicians weren't actually singing, that they were actually singing, "We want to know, Kamala, what did you come here for? Long live free Palestine and Haiti too. We want to know what you think of the colony." Harris then quickly clasps her hands together, looks sheepish, but still bizarrely continued nodding along anyway. Oh boy. She's never been the sharpest knife in the drawer. Quite true. Quite true. Stellantis fires hundreds of engineers. Detroit. Okay. The economy, you do know, right? You do know. You know that you do know that government officials are lying to you, right? About the economy? You do. Okay. I know you do.
Employed at Stellantis for over a decade, this mechanical engineer recently started believing his job was on shaky ground.
I was concerned because I heard rumors a couple weeks ago regarding cuts to salaried employees.
Around 8 p.m. Thursday, 400 technology workers at Stellantis, including this engineer who wants to remain anonymous, received an email informing them not to report to work Friday. Instead, they would be on a mandatory remote workday, and they were required to attend an operational meeting at a designated time. But when workers attended those meetings, they received devastating news.
It was a mass firing of everybody that was on the call.
The news felt like a punch in the gut.
Of course it was. Yes, absolutely.
Fox 2 requested an on-camera interview with Stellantis, but instead we were provided a statement which reads in part, "While we understand this is difficult news, these actions will better align resources while preserving the critical skills needed to protect our competitive advantage as we remain laser focused on implementing our EV product offensive and our Dare Forward 2030 strategic plan."
Oh, the EV madness is just going to destroy so many people in the process. We be crazy for doing nothing, but now we're too far gone. Bezos, who's one of Trump's very close friends, he's one of the founders, former founder well, founder of PayPal, former. Also, eBay? Yeah, alright. Hey, he's got a lot of money. Thiel, Bezos, Zuckerberg dump shares amid surging insider, an ominous sign for the bull market. Oh, things are boiling. Yeah, they're boiling. They're coming to a boiling point. When you think about everything that's happening, everything in the economy, April 8th, all of this kind of stuff. Wow. You really do need to have community. And the housing market is cratering. New home sales unexpectedly dropped in February as prices tumble. Is that unexpected? Why? It's not for me. It's a far deeper recession than publicized. Really? Dallas Fed? Really? Dallas Fed manufacturing survey screams stagflation. We could not have moved from no recession, maybe a recession coming, to, oh, it's far deeper than recession overnight. How does that work? Few have been saying, we're in it. And it ain't going away. It's only going to get worse. Yeah, I'll put the link into this. The X marks the spot right over the New Madrid fault line. And there you go. Would you be surprised if they blew the fault line? Because, frankly, I would not. I wouldn't. At this point, anything goes. Anything goes for the evil shitheads all over the world and those who help them out, which is pretty much majority of the world's population. Now, here we are. Yeah, again, anyone who could claim that what is happening in Gaza is not a genocide, oh boy, you got an agenda and you want to believe an abject lie that is hurting an awful lot of people, leaving them suffering the death of their children and their parents, their wives, their husbands, siblings.
My name is Alan Sparrow. I was with 3rd Special Forces Group. I was with the Commanders in Extremis Force with B-23. I was a sniper, assaulter, and a breacher. I know war. What's going on in Palestine right now is not a war. It's not. It is the dehumanization, it's the genocide, it's the ethnic cleansing of a specific people to take their land. This is not war. These are people that are defending themselves. I see this constantly where people are just repeatedly dehumanizing these people. This is wrong. And there's nothing more American than speaking out against what's wrong. I can't tell you how many times I've seen horrible things, and this takes it to an entirely new level. The U.S. taxpayer is paying for this, which makes it even more frustrating. I'm paying for this. I am seeing what's happening to this. This needs to stop. Whatever you can do, anything, this needs to stop. My name is Alan Sparrow.
Humans are just crazy. Yeah. Yes, indeed.
Now, soldiers can be seen attacking the boy, forcing him to take off his top, apparently because it had a gun printed on the shirt. After the video was published, the Israeli army raided the shop and confiscated the original footage. And Israeli forces have shot at least 5 Palestinians during a raid in Nablus. Palestinian groups confronted soldiers in the east of the city. Troops also raided Tulkarem, Kalkilia, Ramallah, Bethlehem, and Hebron. At least 450 Palestinians have been killed and more than 7,700 arrested in the occupied West Bank since the war on Gaza began. Nida Ibrahim joins us now from Ramallah in the occupied West Bank. Nida, I want to talk more about this boy. What have you been able to learn about that incident?
Well, we know that he's a 7-year-old who was wearing a shirt, as you've seen there in the video, that has a picture of a rifle. This sort of fashion, let's call it, we've been seeing many Palestinian children wearing those blouses in the occupied West Bank, leading to similar incidents. We've reported actually on a boy who was 3 or 4 years old, who also was asked by the Israeli army to take off his shirt and go through a checkpoint in a similar incident in the north of the occupied West Bank. This time, we have actual footage of what happened, slapping the boy, also being very violent towards him just because he was wearing that shirt. We spoke to the store owner who was scared of releasing that video. And you would know why he was scared, because the Israeli forces, as soon as the video went viral yesterday, they stormed his store trying to look for the original footage. He tells us because the incident has happened 2 weeks ago, they could not find the original file. But that gives you an idea of why, when we report on so many stories here in the occupied West Bank, much of those stories remain untold because people fear to show those footage, to show what happened to them, fearing Israeli retaliation. And as we've seen happen in Hebron, remember, we're talking about this neighborhood in the old city of Hebron and the outskirts of the old city. This incident happened in a neighborhood that sees still night curfews. People there, we went there, they cannot use their cars to go. They can only go walking if they want to go and buy their groceries and stuff. So that gives you an idea about the intensity, about the difficulty that Palestinians go through day in and day out.
Yeah, Nida, I want to talk a little bit about more about that with you, because look, our viewers who've been watching, especially since the beginning of this war, they know that these kinds of things happen. But when you see the video, it's jarring. Seeing the video hits differently. All your reporting from the last 5 months and before that tells us that this is only the tip of the iceberg.
Absolutely.
Of course, it's only the tip of the iceberg, but this has been going on pretty much every day for those in the West Bank. The intimidation, the violence from the IDF, as the Palestinians, the humiliation that goes on, the dehumanization, it's systematic. But can you imagine being an adult and treating a child that way? Can you imagine that? I can't. I try to put myself in the shoes of people like this, and I cannot, for the life of me, think what could make an adult man who's wearing a uniform and got the gun treat a child like that. Deranged. 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 Deranged in the head. I hate it. I truly. My God. My God. My God. My God. Yeah. Congress just passed another $3.3 billion in military aid for Israel, without any conditions. Americans, this is what we do. This is what we do. This is what we do. It is beyond sickening. It is such a moral disgrace. But this is America. This is our money. We could unite on this, yes, but no, right? A whole lot of people don't give a shit. A whole lot of people do not care. Then you got the people, the Christians who are for this, which is, wow, they support this. They're for Israel, like Trump, right? Then you got the Jewish Americans who are for this. But then you have those who are so against this. Why can't we unite? See, the people who support Israel and who are fine, well, the people who don't give a shit, they're such a moral disgrace. Just get them away from me. But the people that could actually justify the killing of children, the harming of children, do you not get how morally wrong you are? Do you not get that? I mean, do you not get the evil that is taking place right smack in front of your eyes? And somehow you justify this? Maybe necessary because it's eventually Jesus is going to come back if conditions are met. How does this happen? How does this happen? What? I'm sorry. What the hell has gone on to make adults this morally deranged?
Those in favor of the draft resolution contained in document S/2024/254, please raise their hand. Those against? Abstention.
For, no one against. We abstain. United States. That's right. Because they didn't condemn Hamas. They've got to condemn Hamas. Do you know how many times the Security Council has taken votes for a ceasefire? And we have put up our arm against. Now we're abstaining as if that matters. You know, oh, good. We've abstained. We're not against now. We're getting closer to maybe what? Building the floating port to steal more resources? You get to this point and you think you would have liked to have seen more good than bad, than evil in this world. But you don't. You just don't. And a whole lot of good have turned their backs because they just can't deal with it. It's too upsetting. I understand that none of this can get stopped. That doesn't mean that on a daily basis I'm not upset about it. And for those of you who want to say, oh, you need to just relax, or you need to take a day off, or you need to do this, you know what? The people in Gaza, they don't have a day off. There's a whole lot of people who are suffering all over the world that don't have days off. In fact, I'm one of them. I don't have days off. It's truly sickening to see how many are just not on the right side of history, as they say.
announced that it is canceling a planned meeting with the White House, with White House officials, after the U.S. abstained in a UN Security.
Yeah, Israel's upset that we abstained. We should have voted against.
Security Council vote that calls for, this is passed now, a ceasefire in Gaza.
Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had threatened to pull his delegation from the U.S. if it did not veto the measure, and it did not veto the measure. That team was here to discuss in the United States the planned new offensive in southern Gaza, but it's unclear what exactly will happen now.
It comes amid reports that Israel has accepted progress on a deal that would see dozens of hostages released. If Hamas agrees to this deal, they would release hundreds of Palestinian prisoners held in Israel. No word from Hamas on their take on that, what's on the table. Our political correspondent, Caitlin Huey-Burns, is at the White House for us. She's been following this. It's a big deal, Caitlin. UN Security Council resolutions are legally binding, although people do ignore them and have in the past because there's not a lot of enforcement. But it matters at the very least symbolically and definitely politically. So what happens now that Netanyahu has canceled these meetings that were going to take place?
Yeah, these are hugely symbolic. And given the U.S.'s position, they abstained from this vote, which means that this vote went through. If they were to have issued a veto, it would not have gone through. And the U.S.
So the vote went through, ceasefire. Netanyahu cancels all of his appointments with American officials, and hopefully the cancellation of speaking to Congress that House Speaker invited Netanyahu to do. Well, I don't think there's going to be a ceasefire. So what then? Oh my God. Give $3.3 billion to Israel. Give them $3.3 billion more. That's what we did. We abstain. Netanyahu gets all pissy. I ain't coming to the meetings anymore. You abstained. But we're giving $3.3 billion. Another. More. To kill more children. And adults. To destroy. To cleanse. And yeah, this needs to be revisited. Libya. This is what we do. Okay? The link is in the chat. Very good interview.
Thousands of deaths and a country in ruins. And I just want to give you a little brief history before I bring in our guests. On the 19th of March 2011, the NATO bloc began a violent 8-month-long military onslaught of Libya, a sovereign African Union founding member state, which had enjoyed 4 decades of stability and prosperity and one of the highest human development index scores in all of Africa. So we've said this before on this show that Libya was the most successful country in all of Africa. It was stable, had prosperity. Muammar Gaddafi brought that to the people. NATO's justification for the aggressive and bloody attack was the now infamous Protection of Civilians Doctrine, formalized under UN Security Council Decree number 1973. The French Air Force, however, had already initiated a major raid on immobile Libyan army units. They had already pulled out of the city of Benghazi, a protest hotbed, in a show of goodwill and peaceful intent. More than 400 resting Libyan officers, soldiers, medical and media personnel were massacred without the chance to fight back against an unjustified and undeclared foreign air attack. Tens of thousands more Libyans would later perish under more than 26,000 air raids, 100 cruise missile attacks, and a naval blockade conducted by NATO's 30-member coalition. Among the victims were a terrifying number of civilians from all walks of life. The number of women and children killed was especially high, as they sought refuge in civilian buildings deliberately targeted by the mighty NATO, including houses, apartment blocks, schools, and community centers. Where have I heard that most recently? As we witnessed time and time again in Iraq, Serbia, Afghanistan, and Syria, NATO justified these attacks by claiming they were seeking out fighters and weaponry housed in civilian facilities. No evidence of that has ever been presented. In fact, given its 12 years of total control over Libya, the land, the resources, the institution, the archives, the West has been unable to show the alleged 8,000 victims of rape by the Libyan army, nor the 10,000 murdered civilians, nor the neighborhoods of Tripoli allegedly destroyed by Muammar Gaddafi's air force, nor the African mercenaries supposedly imported by Gaddafi government in the first week of the Libyan Spring, which was February 2011. The actual crimes of Libyan revolutionary government, however, were real and consequential. What were those crimes? Well, Gaddafi's Libya was reshaping the political, economic, and cultural context of the African continent in radical and independent ways, not seen since the nominal decolonization of African countries in the 50s and the 60s. So what Muammar Gaddafi was really doing was threatening Western hegemony by how? Well, Hillary's emails reveal the true motive for Libya's intervention.
Chris Cuomo said not to read those, Jimmy.
Newly disclosed emails show that Libya's plan to create a gold-backed currency to compete with the euro and the dollar was in fact the motive for NATO slaughtering innocent people, decapitating its leader, and turning Libya from one of the most successful countries in all of Africa with a stable government and a prosperous culture into a failed state with open slave trading.
Price of freedom, as Jon Stewart says.
That's exactly what happened. That's what NATO did. That's not what Putin did. That's not what Hamas did. That's not what ISIS did. That's not what Al-Qaeda did or the Taliban. That's what the French, the British, and the United States did. Again, I've said it on Tucker Carlson. I've said it on this show. I'll say it everywhere. The United States is the world's terrorists. There's no one else who can compare. I had a General Tata, on this show last week, and I asked him, is there another terrorist group in the entire world that has a bigger body count than the United States military? And of course, he couldn't answer that question, because if he did answer it honestly, he would be admitting that the United States, exactly as I said, is the world's terrorists. So today, let me bring in Musa Ibrahim. He's a Libyan political figure who rose to international attention in 2011 as Muammar Gaddafi's information minister and his official spokesperson, serving in this role until the government was overthrown in this Libyan civil war. This week marks the 13th anniversary of NATO's attack on Libya. After the war, Ibrahim fled the country. Please welcome Musa Ibrahim.
Thank you, Jimmy. Very honored to be with you today to discuss.
Worthy of listening to this man who talks about what really happened in Libya. If you can deal with it, you know, those who are still singing. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. This is what we are. Okay? Face the truth. If you don't face the truth about yourself individually and the collective, you are so a part of the problem, you can't escape it. And then, this is an excerpt of that interview on what we did to that great man-made river. We blew it up. How dare Libyans have free water, primary water, water that they got from underground and brought right on up, primary water. Sick of the bullshit. Sometimes it just gets really irritating. Yeah. I also want to post links to You're a Node. You're a node, baby. You're a node. Body area network. If you don't know who you are, you're controlled. If you're not controlled now, you will be. Because we all got this going. And your best defense is knowing who you are. Knowing who you are. And unfortunately, that takes years and years and years of that personal inner work that a whole lot of people think they don't even need. I'm fine. No, you're not. No. In fact, our country is just filled with an awful lot of mentally ill people. We ain't fine. Not growing up in this country. All right, so a very good information. You are a node, yeah, this is happening. It is, oh, that owl. All right, the link is in the chat again. And also, Ancient Bloodlines, Contemporary Power, and this is Laura Murray, who talks about an awful lot of very good information that kind of pulls everything together. And it's the Jesuits, yeah. But she also talks about airplanes and now I can't even remember, but let me see if I can just find that part.
Palace in Italy.
Okay.
In Piacenza, one of their palaces in Piacenza. Order technologies. And she's involved in the antennas. She has 19 antenna patents before she came to UC Davis. And they are all involved with the cell phones, with switching, with integrating with smart meters and other technologies. And her husband's involved in coatings and protective coatings on metals and materials. It's sort of materials science. And this is extremely important now because the huge amounts of nuclear pollution created by Chernobyl, by nuclear power plants, by our nuclear wars with depleted uranium and battlefield nukes and Fukushima. And the neutron bombs that they're using on the battlefield now, and then Fukushima on top of all of that. And there have also been several Chernobyl-level events in the Ukraine with nuclear power plants and MOX fuel, which is what caused the Fukushima disaster. And those have all been in the last year, and no one even knows about it. So what that's done is the Wigner effect. The radiation attacks the surface of metals and materials, and it disintegrates those materials. It steals electrons, and I don't know if you've ever seen if you put iron filings on a magnet and they start growing up. Well, that's what all this radiation is doing to the surface of airplanes, to thin metal like the bands that go around and hold hoses on metal nipples, for instance, in hydraulic systems on planes. And we are having a complete breakdown of the entire airline industry from entropy. The Wigner effect is basically the crumbling or the decay of materials.
And isn't that interesting? So this talk was 7 years ago, and we are now, well, dealing with the airline industry and Boeing, and how many times have I posted that, hydraulic failures, or, everything she was talking about 7 years ago, we're now seeing an awful lot of. So the link is in the chat, but she's talking about the people, these bloodline people who are very involved in all of the technology that is really crippling us, for sure. But I also want to put in the link to this Trump card, Walter Veith. The Trump card. Yeah, Trump may not be what you think he is, and you need to have an open mind when you listen to information, especially from people who are known as great researchers. Yeah, very important. So, on that note, I've got 2 more minutes. Thank you for showing up. Hope to see you tomorrow night. You stay safe. Awareness, awareness, awareness of your surroundings and of your own self. Yes, your own behavior, how you are responding to incidences out in the world. Very important that you know your own self in order to stay safe, or at least try, and help those in your community. Do something to try to, create some community. Maybe talk to your neighbors every now and then, wave, do something, I don't know, and help out, food pantries and animal shelters all over the world, all over the country, sure do need an awful lot of help. You can pick up extra dog food, you can pick up extra food, drop it off at the food pantry, drop it off at the animal shelter, ask them, hey, do you need any help? I have a couple of hours. Do what we can, right? And then on that note, I do hope to see you tomorrow. You guys have a good night. And for sure, good luck. Ciao.